Hey guys, it's Rob. How's it going? I want to touch base with you guys about an issue I had with my boat recently. A couple weeks ago, Jeremy and I and our wives went out on the boats, and I fired up my starboard engine, and it didn't sound right. It sounded like, well, from the inside of the boat, it sounded like a head gasket leak. Just super noisy, rattly. But if you were on the ground behind it and you could hear it, it just sounded like metal grinding and clanking. And I got a video, I made a video of it, and I'll kind of cut it in here. But it's something I think that owners of, I believe it was 2014, 13 or 14 and newer, all the way up until the 18s, they had some issues. When I say they, Yamaha had some issues with their pump housing. If you're unfamiliar with the pump housing is, it's pretty much that little deal that your impeller sits inside of. You can just kind of see the brackets when it's mounted on the boat from behind. And I got, I'll show you what they look like here, because that's what the noise was. I went to the dealer. I explained to them the noise just to kind of get an idea what they think it might be. And they said, hey, that's the pump housing. So what I want to do first, before I show my housings, is I want to cut in two videos. I took a video of the port side and the starboard side, so you can kind of compare what the normal sounding one is compared to what the pump housing that's going bad sounds like. So I'll do that here. We'll go the good one first and then the bad one. Okay, so it may be kind of hard to tell on the camera or on the video, but I'm going to tell you something. It was noisy, very noisy. So if you hear something like that, and again from the inside of the boat, it kind of sounded like a head gasket had blown. How you could hear that leaking exhaust with every piston stroke. But what's happening is those pump housings are two pieces, and inside, there's a ring inside that Yamaha put in there. There's water that can get in between the actual pump housing and that little insert seal that they put in there, and it starts to corrode, and it swells in between those two, and it creates like a little bow, if I could just kind of, a bow, and the impellers are hitting that little swell that's going on underneath that sleeve. So that's what was wrong with mine. And here I'll show you. Alright, so here's the pump housings. Alright, this is the good one. I just went ahead and replaced them both with Solace aftermarket ones. They're all one-piece solid steel. So that's what it looks like inside. Nice and neat, nice and clean. You can see where the impeller goes in between there. But if you look real close, you can see there's what looks to be like a little insert, right? So this little piece in here is inserted into this whole deal. And water, sometimes that little seal, that crack, the joint between those two, water gets in behind there and it starts to swell. Okay, so here's the bad one. And you can see right there, it may be hard, there may be a glare in there. You can see where my impeller was banging up against there and right there. Right? I don't think you'll be able to see from here, but you run your finger down it, you can definitely feel that there's a swell underneath that little seal in there. So every time I'd fire it up, my impeller was scraping. Now it didn't do any damage to my impeller because I caught it. As soon as I heard it, I took it in and started getting it fixed. So there was not any damage to my impeller, just a little bit of rounding off, just a crotch hair, but not very much. So I caught it just in time. So be aware of this kind of stuff happening. Make sure that when you fire up your motor that you're really kind of paying attention to the way it sounds. There was no mistaking that something was wrong with this at all. No mistaking it. if you do hear this, don't just keep running it, because what you're doing is you're rounding off your impeller. You're going to round off the inside of that thing, out of the housing, and you're just going to create more and more damage. So my boat's still fairly new, so Yamaha covered the one side that was bad for warranty purposes. And like I said, I bought aftermarket pump housings from Solace, and I think the difference in what Yamaha paid the dealer for warranty, and the difference was like 75 bucks. And then the new one, the other side I had to pay for to get fixed. But it was like 650 bucks. I mean, it's not cheap, but between the parts, labor, you know, all that other stuff, it was like 650 bucks to get the whole thing done with the upgraded parts. And that includes the 71 for the other side, the difference in the pay. So, the difference in the price of the parts. So, keep that in mind. And what I'm also going to do after this video is, the dealership here had an old impeller that they took out of another boat that had the same issue, and it shows on the blades of the impeller where the owners of that boat just kept on going, and it shows it was getting so hot even in the water that it was burning, charring the impeller. So I'll throw that in at the end, a couple of clips. I got 4 pictures of the impeller from different angles, and you can kind of see the damage to the impeller itself. So, and then maybe I'll do a couple close-ups of mine, of my actual tube, or the housing here. That way you can see kind of what it looks like on the actual housing. But, and again, I do believe, if I remember right, it was either 2013 to 18 models where they did this 2-piece deal where they had that ring inserted into that housing. And so for the 2019s, they got smart and made a 1-piece, just like the Solace one, which is all one solid piece in there. So please keep that in mind, and you know, I hope this video kind of gives everybody a heads up on something to look out for. There's really no way to prevent it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and you're going to have to just get it fixed. There's no preventative maintenance for this kind of a thing. It really, in my opinion, it's a design flaw from Yamaha. You know, like the guys here always say at the dealerships, you know, why would they make a part that's going to last forever? That's where they always make their money, is on parts and labor. So, so yeah, keep that in mind. You fire up that motor, and it just sounds like hell. And the longer it sits, the worse it's going to get. So if it's making it just before the winter time, making that noise before the winter time, get it fixed before next season. Don't let it sit, because it's going to keep swelling and swelling and swelling, and you're not going to be able to turn your motor over at all. So anyway, I think that's about it. I just wanted to bring this to attention. I know it's been discussed on the Jetboaters forum, on a couple different threads out there, but again, I wanted to show everybody what it looks like, and you know, have a video of what it sounds like too when it's going bad. So I hope it helps, and I'll get another video out soon. Don't know what I'm going to do yet. Our season here in Florida is starting to come to an end. I have a couple projects that I know I've said in other videos I'm going to do, and I just haven't. So, yeah. So anyway, good boating, and I'll see you next time.